My earliest educational background is in criminal justice. It's what I studied in college before making my way into private security in an organization at which security and safety were effectively combined. It's where I became familiar with life safety, OSHA, and environmental health and safety as a whole, leading to that being my primary career in one way or another for the majority of my adult life. It's because of this that I don't make much of a distinction between safety and security. Although there are distinct differences in the focus of each, to me, it's difficult to practically separate the disciplines in real life. The goal of security is, after all, to provide safety when it all boils down. This is what brings me to the topic of this video, broken windows, and how I think it fits into employee and workplace safety as a whole. If the only thing that broken Windows brings to mind is Microsoft, it was a concept that was often discussed with regards to policing. Broken Windows was first introduced in a 1982 article by James Q. Wilson and George L. Kelling. It's often cited as a theory, and there have been subsequent academics based on this article, but the basic tenet set in the article is, if a window in a building is broken and is left unrepaired, all of the rest of the windows will soon be broken. This is as true in nice neighborhoods as it is in rundown ones. Window breaking does not necessarily occur on a large scale because some areas are inhabited by determined window breakers, whereas others are populated by window lovers. Rather, one unrepaired broken window is a signal that no one cares, and so breaking more windows costs nothing.
Hey, excuse me.
Hi there, hello.
Hi there, hello. Did you break that window behind you?
I did, yeah, I broke it, and now here we are.
Did you do that on purpose?
I did, yeah, very much so.
That shouldn't be allowed.
Well, see, I like the noise that glass makes when it breaks. It goes, which is a noise that I like.
Yeah, obviously that's one of the coolest noises there is, but that's not your window.
The world's my playground, I decided.
It received popular attention in the 1990s largely due to some controversial policies implemented by then Police Chief of New York City, William Bratton, that were based on the concept. I'm not going to go into that controversy. My goal is not to open debates on the effectiveness of the derivative policies and procedures in policing, but to discuss the concept of the article itself and apply it to the world of workplace safety and health. It's something that's stuck with me and has served me fairly well over the years. It's another tool in my toolbox to be applied while trying to help keep people safe and healthy while they work. It's probably helpful to reframe broken windows a bit. The article offered an explanation of some human behaviors. It's certainly one of many and not meant to represent a be-all, end-all explanation for undesirable actions, but it does pose some interesting arguments that I've seen play out anecdotally in the real world. At its root, it proposes two theoretical communities identical in every way. Same buildings, same socioeconomic status, same people, identical. The only difference is in the first community, a broken window is found and promptly repaired, and in the second community, a broken window goes unrepaired and ignored. How the initial windows are broken doesn't matter so much. Could be vandalism, the weather, normal wear and tear, really anything. The postulation is that the broken window in the second community will provide an implied permission for an inclined individual to actively break another window. The inference being that no one cared about this broken window, and throwing a rock to break a window can be fun, so why not?
It's just a window I found out here during my travels. So that you shouldn't be breaking stuff that's not yours.
Well, why would I break my own stuff? Then my stuff would be broken.
Listen, my man, that's a hard line of reasoning to argue with, but still, this doesn't seem right.
As you may have already guessed, the idea is that this becomes a behavior that grows exponentially as more windows are broken, and the behavior will spread through the community in one way or another. Not everyone in the community will break windows, of course, but more people with the inclination will divine implied permission over time as more and more windows are smashed until the entire community has to live with the broken windows and their side effects. It's an academic treatment of the old adage,
evil begets evil.
Now you can probably see how this affected policing, and there are plenty of opinions both pro and con on that subject. What I would like to show is how this can be made a part of a comprehensive safety program that helps encourage employee and management buy-in and participation without being overly authoritarian in its approach. So you've opened your brand new distribution warehouse, and you've developed it as a safe working environment from literally the ground up. Robust level flooring, a state-of-the-art fire sprinkler system, pit vehicles with all the latest in safety assurance equipment, an easy-to-assemble and sturdy racking system, a training program for all employees that bakes safety right into the very tasks that they're performing, ergonomically adjustable workstations and equipment, the works. You've also assembled a management staff that balances peak productivity with the health and well-being of everyone that enters the facility, and you're confident that this will be the paradigm of a great place to work. Then, one month you start running out of storage space and it looks like the trucks will be coming in faster than they go out. You find yourself stuck for a few days without enough rack space for all the pallets. Leading up to this, you tell staff to take any space they need, so they start stacking the excesses in drive aisles for the pit vehicles, and after a few days, one of the emergency exits is blocked by heavy, high-stack pallets. A few days go by, the aisles are a bit harder to navigate, but after a week the overage is clear now and everything's back to normal. There was no fire or other emergencies, so ultimately that blocked fire exit wasn't really a practical issue. But what happened to your safety program? The organization just showed staff that it's okay to let safety fall by the wayside when necessary to keep up with productivity. It was only one time though, only one broken window. Now, I'm not trying to be overly dramatic with this example, but it really can be that simple. The implied permission or even requirement to break safety rules for the sake of productivity. The next time it may not be an emergency exit that's blocked, it could be someone putting their hand into a moving machine to remove a blockage, or driving too fast in a pedestrian area with a pit vehicle to load a truck faster. I've seen it happen in real life, and in nearly real time. There was a very dynamic environment that I once worked in years ago where a manager gave permission to partially block an emergency exit route with mobile storage racks temporarily due to a series of events that required more of them than were usually kept on hand. A limit was placed on how much of the area could be blocked and for how long, but as you may have guessed, not only were they not removed, in a short amount of time the long hallway became more and more blocked. It was the classic give them an inch, they took a mile scenario. This would have been bad enough if it occurred in a seldom seen emergency-only hallway, but this was the main employee entrance hallway for the entire facility, and it persisted for years. Now, I opine that there weren't that many of the thousands of employees that walked that hallway every day over those years that consciously perceived this as something potentially dangerous, but it certainly was an unconscious signpost that sometimes compromises of safety were necessary to get the job done. If you haven't guessed by now, this is not a video about any particular regulation or best practice. This is a video about one way to reinforce a truly unconscious safety culture that's not only compliant with regulations, but that helps to make the fictional paradigm of a great place to work that I described earlier a bit more of a reality. Now, I will 100% agree with the reality that businesses exist to make profit. Without that being the goal, businesses really wouldn't be around very long and no one would have a job or livelihood. So shouldn't productivity take precedence over just about anything? Oddly, I would say wholeheartedly yes. Workplace safety is not, at least in reality, the complete aversion to risk. Occasionally, windows will be broken. I've jokingly said if no one ever left the house and lived in hermetically sealed hamster balls, we wouldn't have to worry about hazards and risk would be something only talked about in history textbooks. But who would ever really want to live in that world? It's really more about how these broken windows are addressed, how long they are allowed to remain, and if those broken windows could have been avoided that really matters. Let's re-examine our new warehouse environment again and the temporary storage challenge. Instead of giving carte blanche to the warehouse staff to take any space they need, what if, immediately when the position presented itself, an assessment was completed of the available space in the warehouse with the goal of determining what can be moved, restacked, or resorted to create space and designate areas that can be blocked and areas that can't. For instance, let's say that 15% of the stacked pallets were assessed as not being needed for at least 2 months. They could be moved together in one specific area so that the overages could easily be stacked in front with pallets that would be needed sooner. Overages could also be strategically stored so that they're all in one area and will be the easiest to clear out first as they're needed. The emergency exit is much less likely to be blocked if there's a detailed plan associated with this, we'll call it a productivity overflow. But to bring it back to topic, we care about potential broken windows and we're going to take every step to prevent them from happening. Think about it. If anything is demonstrated as not being very important, how likely are the words, "this is really important," going to make you feel as if it is?
Okay, I'm gonna go do some other things now. Bye.
Oh, hang on a second. I got half a mind to call the police about this.
What's the other half of your mind doing?
Holding in a fart. Now, you stay right there. I'm calling the police.
Okay, hi there. Hello, it's me. I'm the police officer.
Hey, police, listen, there's a guy out here breaking windows and stuff.
Are they his own windows? They're not.
Well, that shouldn't be allowed. That's what I said.
I'll be right there.
Okay, great. Oh, you weren't kidding.
I wasn't. Hi there. Hello. Hi there. Hello.
So what's the meaning of all this? What does it mean? Did you just teleport?
I'll ask the questions around here. Did you break that window behind you? I did.
Why did... Don't be doing that.
But I already did be doing that.
Well, I decided I don't like that.
I don't know what to tell you. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I think I'm gonna have to put you in a room over this. This is insane behavior. Does the room have windows? Yeah? Nice. But also bars.
Let's go. I could go for a drink.
No, these are metal bars to prevent you from breaking the glass and leaving. Ooh, okay, no, that doesn't sound like the kind of room I want to be in. Okay, I apologize for the window thing, I guess.
Apology accepted. Okay, maybe I won't put you in a room over this after all.
The words are never as important as the action, and this is especially true when it comes to safety in the workplace. At every level, every interaction either reinforces or detracts from the culture you try to build, and that's the make or break point with safety. Does this mean you can never suspend a safety policy for any reason?
No. Not now. Not ever.
That's a very complicated question. The short answer is no, you shouldn't, but there is a longer yes answer with a ton of very large caveats. I'll start this part off by saying that safety regulations, protocols, and common practices are written by the blood and lives of people. They really aren't just some arbitrary rules that OSHA made up to make running a business harder, and they aren't pushed by safety organizations and professionals to justify their existence. But there can be instances where temporary or conditional suspension of a safety rule may actually be the safest option in that moment or situation. As an example, let's talk about pit traffic in a manufacturing and warehouse facility. Any good pit operator trainer will tell you that pedestrians and forklifts are an intrinsically dangerous combination. In facilities where there is a mix of the two, there are inexorably a lot of rules in place to limit the interactions of people in pit vehicles. But to simplify it, let's take a facility that is bifurcated into two distinct zones. Half is strictly palletized warehousing, and the other assembly line manufacturing. For this example, there's a rule against pit vehicles being utilized on the manufacturing side, and that any palletized stock must only be moved by a manual pallet jack in that area. Though there are some rare instances on the manufacturing side where the pallets are too heavy to be moved manually, requiring the use of a pit vehicle. For these occasions, a set of requirements was established so that a temporary suspension of this rule could allow for pit traffic to occur inside these restricted areas. I won't go point for point with this example, but a major rule would likely be that the vehicle needs to be accompanied by a walking spotter and move no faster than a walking speed while in the restricted zone. Without the spotter, the operator of the pit vehicle could face a black mark on their operator's license in that facility. This is an oversimplified example and in reality requires more discussion and planning than my description may allude to, but I think you get the point. In this very specific situation, the proverbial window was broken intentionally, but the care and consideration with which this window was broken doesn't necessarily cause harm to standing safety policies. To keep the analogy going, there was a replacement window ready and waiting in the form of the policy re-engaging immediately following the brief productivity overflow. Never suspend a safety rule without answering at least these questions. Will this create an immediate threat of imminent bodily harm or death? If the answer is yes, then the discussion is over. No, you cannot suspend that rule. Are there any alternatives? If the answer is yes, the discussion is over and you cannot suspend that rule. Could there be any negative long-term effects to the overall safety program as a whole? If the answer is yes, the discussion is over and you really should not suspend that rule. If you've gotten over these and other hurdles, then you can start planning how you might go about creating a policy on how to safely suspend the rule.
Credits will do fine. Credits will do fine.
To suspend any safety rules, there should be a formalized written process created and utilized for authorization of a temporary or conditional suspension of any safety policy. That process should always involve representation from all affected and effected parties to ensure that something isn't overlooked. The suspension of safety rules and policies is a topic that deserves its own deep dive, so I'll cover that in a later video much more comprehensively. The application of broken windows in EHS is challenging to describe, but remember, this is an oversimplified academic concept that seeks to describe a narrow portion of human behaviors. In my opinion, the key is in its interpretation and application, and it's important not to take the more authoritarian interpretation of the concept. If it hasn't been clear in my other videos, I think one of the most unproductive ways to promote safety and environmental health in any organization is the do it because I said so approach, and if you don't do it, you'll be in trouble. This isn't to say that there shouldn't be consequences for disregarding safety rules, quite the opposite. But strictly authoritarian approaches to safety rarely resonate with, well, anyone. This breeds a culture of safety to keep my job, or safety because I don't want to deal with it in the planning meeting, over safety to keep myself and coworkers healthy. As a director of mine was fond of saying, culture eats process for lunch. Meaning that all of your carefully crafted safety programs, training sessions, and policies disappear once you set people out into the wider organization. No matter what training sessions you make somebody sit through, everyone learns to behave based on the practices and the norms they see every day, especially from those in positions of influence. The 20-year-plus veteran, the new supervisor on the floor that just got promoted, the executive visiting the facility, the cool person with a ton of friends all around the organization. These individuals can easily be the source of broken windows or the ones that take the extra time to keep them clean. They are the truest organizational test of any EHS program. To me, the concept of broken windows is a useful way to illustrate the effects of disregarding safety more than it actually informs active policies. As with many things, how well something works from a human behavioral standpoint is dependent on how it's approached. Workplace safety is certainly no different.
Okay, maybe I won't put you in a room over this after all. Sick. Okay, great. Unless... Did you do more mischievous stuff to private or public property out here? Yes. Well, dang it, what'd you do, you frickin' lunatic? Not a ton of stuff, like I rearranged the letters of that stop sign in reverse order. But you can't be fiddling around with stuff like that. That's not the order the letters are supposed to be in at all. Yeah, no, I know. I had a good time putting them that way. It was fun for me. That sign's supposed to say stop, but now it says pots. That's gonna cause anarchy out here. I don't know. I don't really see that affecting anything at all. Oh boy, I sure do love driving. You sure do. Oh, I think you got to stop up there. No, that seems to be some kind of pots gathering for pots enthusiasts. I should be good to actually speed up here. That was probably unrelated to the thing I did.
What I hope I've illustrated in this video is another tool you can put into your box to help you craft that approach. The end goal is keeping everyone safe and healthy after all. Broken windows isn't something that's discussed much anymore, and to my knowledge has almost never been discussed outside the realm of policing and public policy. But I do think there is value in it as a broad academic view of group behaviors. I wouldn't have droned on for this long if I didn't. I hope that you found this video interesting and informative, and I'd love to see your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see where this channel goes and you'd like to be informed of upcoming videos. Make sure to hit that bell button. And I'll see you in the next video.